Hello, this video tutorial is going to cover an introduction to practice management. Once you've logged into Office Tools Professional, you're greeted by this single screen interface. Now it's broken up into three main parts, and I'm going to cover each one of those three main parts along with all the separate tabs that you see across the top of the screen. Now this is an introduction video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about each specific tab. However, this is a very good place to start. So while looking at the screen, it's actually broken into three main areas. Over on the left, you have the contact list. This is where all of your clients, vendors, prospects, and other types of contacts can be listed and found. Because Office Tools Professional is a contact-driven software, once you've selected a contact from this list, now all the tabs that you see across the top of the screen will populate that specific contact's information. As an example, we have ABC Company selected. We've chosen the Contact tab, and so we can obviously see the contact information for ABC Company. If I go to the Notes tab, I'm looking at all of the notes for ABC Company. If I skip over to the Billing tab, for example, I can see all the billing details for the selected contact. So choosing your contact from the list on the left is very important, and it's a very good starting place. Now, while you're able to actually just simply scroll through this list, the best practice is to actually just use the search at the top. If you need more advanced searches or you want to use some filters, clicking on the magnifying glass just to the left of that will give you some options. Down on the very bottom of the screen is what we call the staff activity list. This list is a place where any type of item or event or reminder that is created throughout the system will be displayed for that selected staff member. This can include phone calls that need to be returned, to-dos that have been created, project assignments that are being worked on, and so on. Now this list can be sorted and filtered and viewed in many different ways, and each staff member can have their own settings. But just to give you an example of some of your options, let's say for example I want to turn off my phone calls for today. I can simply come down here to the call checkbox, close that, and it will disappear from my list. The event is not gone, it is just simply not being viewed. You can also change the view order, and you can sort. One really neat feature about the activity list is that you can actually view other staff members' lists. This is very handy, for example, managers and supervisors, because they can go and have a look at the workload of other staff members. Clicking on these items will actually auto-create a time card for tracking time purposes, and right-clicking on the items will give you a new menu of options, all of which will be covered in other user guides in more detail. Now the third area of Office Tools Professional is the main workspace, which is separated by these tabs that go across the top of the screen. So I'm going to go through each tab and give you a summary version of why you would use that tab in its basic functionality. So the Contacts tab is just that, it's contact information. Names, phone numbers, contact type, important ID numbers, things of that sort. The Notes tab is designed for permanent client notes. Some examples you can see here are how he prefers his coffee and his QuickBooks information. That way, any staff member who is looking for information for the selected client has quick access to it. The next tab over is the to-dos. To-dos are great for kind of those single item, single staff jobs. In a lot of ways, to-dos will replace internal emails, sticky notes, yelling down the hallway, those type of things. When you create a to-do or a phone call or any of these events in the system, and you assign those to a specific staff member, they will actually appear on his list on the bottom, and then they'll be able to go ahead and follow through with that job. The phone calls tab, not too dissimilar from to-dos. The difference being is obviously this is a way to log and track phone calls. But the same rules apply. When created and a staff member's name is chosen, it will show up on their list as a reminder. The next tab over is the schedule. Very common functionality here in a lot of ways, where you can choose a date and time, create an appointment, put in any kind of important details that you may need. One thing that separates this schedule from a lot of other ones is that it is internally integrated with the rest of the program. What that means is the contact information from the previous tab can populate a lot of details for our appointment. We can generate an email reminder from this appointment. Once completed, we can track our time or run a timer during this appointment. There are multiple views, And you can choose and select and view other staff members' schedules. Our Projects tab is where we can track workflow. Projects typically are types of work that involve multiple staff members. There's different steps inside of that need to be tracked. They typically reoccur, okay? But it's a very, very important part of the system in that you can track not only time and budget details, you can track obviously workflow and deadlines and due dates, documentation, notes. So they're a very, very important part of the system. And they're set up in a way that is like a template. You'd basically design your project ahead of time, assign that or give that to the client based on the services that you provide, and then it'll begin tracking all this information for you. The assignments that are giving out inside of a project are what you will see on your activity list on the bottom. As that assignment gets completed, it'll then move to the next step that you've created. Until ultimately the project is completed, it'll roll over to whatever the next period may be, and then you can begin the process again. The Time tab located at the top is our staff timesheet. This is where, using the 3 different time tracking methods in Office Tools Professional, you can see and adjust your timesheet for the day. Whether it's a manual time card entry by simply filling in the fields available, filling out a time card once an item has been completed from your activity list, or running a timer. Using any of those options will begin to populate this list, which then a staff member can review, a supervisor can print off and approve, and given the appropriate level of rights, you can actually view other staff members' timesheets. Now again, that is a user right control, and you do need to have a special level of rights in order to do that, but that allows supervisors and managers to very quickly go through and adjust and approve these timesheets. The Billing tab covers the 3 main areas of billing. That time that you've tracked in the previous tab, or the time that all your staff or all the staff members have tracked, will begin to populate this Billing tab. This specific view that we're looking at here is billable time. Now I can also go and view any invoices for the selected contact and their payments. Now, as Office Tools is a full time and billing software, we can again track that time, create those invoices, and receive those payments in the same system. We have many reports that support all of this, and we have integrations with QuickBooks that will actually allow us to push that information to your general ledger. The Documents tab, which is the last tab here at the top, is for our document management system. This allows you to simply drag a document into the screen, choose a year, a project, or a category, or any combinations of those, and have these set up in a list format. This allows you to search for a specific document, or simply use the drop-down menus to narrow that down. You can tell what kind of document it is by the icon, and you obviously have a file name and description. There are some common functions in Office Tools, such as the Reports menu up at the top, along with the Setup and Hotkeys menus. Each tab has a toolbar with a lot of very common options and some additional ones, and I'll go through those really quick. When you're in a new tab, the plus button will allow you to add a new item. If it's a contact, if I'm under the Contacts tab and I hit it, it'll do just that. It'll create a new contact. If I was, for example, under the Phone Calls tab, it would allow me to create a new phone call. The little pencil represents the Edit button. Many places in Office Tools Professional are locked, so to speak, which means you can't actually edit that screen until you hit the Edit button. To demonstrate that, you'll notice that the screen here, I can click on it and begin typing, nothing will actually change. However, once I hit that Edit button, now all the fields become editable, and I can go ahead and make any changes that I need to. We have a Save button. There's also a trash can for deleting whatever event you've just created. Our Printer button, which will either take you to the Reports screen or allow you to print the information that's in that particular tab. A magnifying glass, which represents our search options. A small clock for timers. An option for emails, and these little gears which usually represent additional options. Now past that, each tab will have some very specific areas. For example, the Contacts tab here has a place for alternate contact information. So as time goes on and you become more and more familiar with these additional options, you'll see how much deeper a lot of this functionality can go. And that's it for the practice management overview. Thank you very much.